morning. On this Friday, November 11th, is Veterans Day. As a former Marine, there are a few things that I seem to pay more attention to than the average person. One of those items is the Pledge of Allegiance. Every meeting we start off by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, but does anyone know why? Have you ever thought about how many times you say those words in a year? For me, it's over 150 times, a month, or a week. Did you know that not a single person who signed the Declaration of Independence ever said or even heard the words to the Pledge of Allegiance? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, or any of the other founding fathers? Never. Abraham Lincoln? No. The pledge would not be written for another 27 years after his death. Columbus Day, of all the holidays, brought us the pledge. How many remember the rhyme? In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. The Columbus Day celebration of the 400th anniversary of the discovery of America was planned for years in advance. The United States had recovered from most of the effects of its Civil War that had began 30 years earlier, and people from around the world were flocking to the land of opportunity. The previous year, almost 500,000 immigrants had entered the United States, and on New Year's Day of 1892, Ellis Island had opened. Two men interested in both education and planned Columbus Day celebrations around our nation's 44 states were Francis Bellamy and James Upton. To this day, it is still unknown which of the two men actually authored the words that were to become the Pledge of Allegiance. It was published anonymously and not copyrighted. James Upton was an employee of the Boston publishing firm that produced the Youth's Companion, in which it first appeared. Francis Bellamy was an educator who served as chairman of the National Committee of Educators and who served as many civic leaders who were planning the Columbus Day activities. What we do know for certain is that the words first appeared in the September 8, 1892 issue of the Youth's Companion, and a month later, more than 12 million school children recited the words for the first time in schools across the nation. Our Pledge of Allegiance was born, but like anything new, it took many years to reach maturity and underwent several changes along the way. That first pledge to the flag read, "I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." After the Columbus Day celebration, the pledge to the flag became a popular daily routine in America's public schools, but gained little attention elsewhere for almost 25 years. Finally, on June 14, 1923, Flag Day, the pledge received major attention from adults who had gathered for the first National Flag Conference in Washington, D.C. Here, their conference agenda took note of the wording in the pledge. There was concern that, with the number of immigrants now living in the United States, there might be some confusion with the words, "my flag," were recited. To correct this, the pledge was altered to read, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States." The following year, the wording was again changed to read, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America." The Pledge of Allegiance continued to be recited daily by children in schools across America and gained heightened popularity among adults during the patriotic fever created by World War II. It was still an unofficial pledge until June 22, 1942, when Congress included the pledge to the flag in the United States Flag Code. This was the first official sanction given to the words that have been recited daily by children for almost 50 years. 1 year after receiving this official sanction, the United States Supreme Court ruled that school children could not be forced to recite the Pledge of Allegiance as part of their daily routine because doing so would be a violation of the First Amendment. In 1945, the pledge to the flag received its official title as the Pledge of Allegiance. The last change in the Pledge of Allegiance occurred on June 14, 1954, when President Dwight D. Eisenhower approved adding the words, "under God." The 23 words which had initially been penned for a Columbus Day celebration now comprise a 31-word profession of loyalty and devotion to not only the flag, but a way of life and the American idea. Today, there are many tendencies among many Americans to recite by rote with little thought for the words themselves. Let's examine these 31 words a little more thoroughly. I, me, an individual, a committee of one. Pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion. To the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there is respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts. Freedom is everyone's job. United, that means we have all come together. States, 50 individual communities that have united into one great nation. 50 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that is for love of country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And the government is the people. It is from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands, one nation. Our government also being represented by the flag, to which I promise loyalty. Under God, under the divine providence of God, our most powerful resource. Indivisible, incapable of being divided. With liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life, without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principles of qualities or dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, fellow Toastmasters, it is much your country as it is mine. And these principles are afforded to every American, regardless of race, religion, color, creed, or any other criteria. Thank you.